Is you live? Is you live, whore? Whores, are you live? Oh yes, honey, it is that time, baby. The Queen's Supreme Court will be loud, live, and always and forever in color in Orlando, Florida. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The doll is bringing deceit to your city. Bitch, Funky Doneva and Jesse Wu will be my guest Supreme Court judges. Ladies, jurors, gentlemen, get up, start what you're doing right now, and get over there and get your tickets at www.eventbrite.com. That's www.eventbrite.com, and look for the Queen's Supreme Court live show in Orlando. Don't beat me there, bitch. Beat me there.
Nessa girl, let's just jump into this episode of Married to Medicine. Now, I just got through watching 2 hours of Married to Medicine. I ain't even gonna try to go backwards and review last week's episode. I just watched that one for fun so I can know what was going on, and we gonna pick up where we left off at. This episode of Married to Medicine was particularly touching to me because I'm from Miami, and my experience mimics Heavenly's experience almost to the T in terms of her neighborhood shaping her personality, her leaving home and never coming back, having not so pleasant memories in her childhood home, and we're going to talk about all of that. But the house opens up with Eugene and Toya going to the site of their new home. You know, I can't count them people coins. And I understand that Eugene and Toya are doing better, but it seems to me like y'all paid off y'all's debt and then y'all use that as license to now go spend. And don't get me wrong, I understand that y'all have chosen a number that you said y'all are comfortable living off of that number, so on and so forth, but it just still kind of feels like some nigga shit. Like, if you had to work to pay the taxes off and you just paid the taxes off, suggests to me that you didn't have a whole lot of money saved, because if you did, you would have just used part of what you had saved to pay the taxes off. That being said, if you just paid the damn taxes off, y'all can't have a shitload of money saved, and now y'all about to run out and build this house, then you know Toya gonna want to furnish it from head to toe, so on and so forth. And like I said, I can't tell grown folks how to spend their money. I just hope that y'all are not making another mistake, 2-story closet and all. Must be nice. Contessa gets the phone call to be able to do the breast surgery within 24 hours. Wow, that was scary. And if I was Contessa, I don't know that I would have been able to do it that quick. You know, sometimes, you know me, I'd have came up with all kind of excuses. Oh, girl, no, my children got to go to homecoming next week, and I got a Stanley Steamer appointment on Wednesday. And it feels like that's where Contessa's mind was going. Then she was like, fuck this, because there's never going to be a right time. Let's do it and get it over with. And I'm glad Contessa did that. Shouts out to Contessa for that elective surgery. It is brave to cut both of your breasts off in an attempt to lower your chances of getting breast surgery. We saw Angelina Jolie do that, or whatever. So Simone, Jackie, and Heavenly get in the car and they goes down to the Miami, baby. Yes, God, honey, shouts out to Miami. They was going over the bridge on Miami Beach, got my city looking all nice, and they went cigar shopping, and that was real cute or whatever. And you know, Simone was driving and she didn't like that or whatever. Okay, we gonna move on from that. That ain't really nothing now. So Quad goes and meets with Mark and Abigail. You know, the beautiful thing about Married to Medicine with these relationships between Jackie, Curtis, Simone, Cecil, and Quad and Gregory, this show has showed us the many breakdowns that happen in relationships and marriages, and the various outcomes, the almost divorce, the I should leave you, the I'm getting a divorce. You know, I find it, Greg and Quad both at this juncture of filming can't bring themselves to say, I want a divorce. But they both want a divorce. You know, when Greg sat there and said, you know, I gotta know that my wife desires me. You know, that says a lot. That says, Greg, you ain't as clueless and as dumb as people think you are, because, you know, for what it's been worth, you know, the general tone has been that, you know, neither one of y'all are feeling each other. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, Quan keeps saying, I'm 5 minutes away from divorce. And it's like, girl, you already divorced. You don't want to talk to the man. You don't want to touch the man. You don't want to listen to the man breathe on the phone. Spiritually and mentally, y'all are already divorced. And it's sad. But I'm with Eugene on this. At a certain point, you know, you have to just call it quits. Wave the white flag, throw in the towel, because you can't keep living in misery and strife and stress. And it looks like that's what they did. I just hope that when it's all said and done, that things can be amicable between those two. I have a personal rule, and it's just the way I live. I'm just not gonna let a day happen that I'm not talking to somebody or can't be friendly with somebody that don't stuck their dick in me. And that's just the way I roll. You know me too intimately. We shared too many good times. You've explored too many pieces of my body for us to be walking around adversarial. That's just one thing I don't play. Now, my last lover, you know, I haven't seen him in several years, at least like 4. I don't know if he's willing to talk to me now, but every time I see him, you know, I just make sure that I create a pleasant and warm environment, because I just feel like, you know, they were together 10 years. You took a 10-year chunk of my life. Nah, bitch, we friends to the death. Bitch, I'm coming to your next wedding. I'm coming to your next baby shower. Like, we friends, ho. And that's just the way it's gonna be. Quad meeting with Mark and Abigail, you know, it was sad because you can see that Lydia's at her wit's end. Things aren't getting better, but I don't think things are getting better because neither one of them wanted to get better. I think, you know, I think Greg wants something that Quad can't give, and Quad wants something that Greg is not. And now that we know the outcome that they're getting a divorce, good, because bitch, I been had wanted them to get one. I had been seeing the shit. But moving right along, the birds and the bees with Mariah's daughter. I'm going to tell y'all something, and I've said this before. I really like Mariah's parenting style. You know, and it makes me feel good, y'all, that I can find one area of this show that I can legitimately ride for Mariah and support Mariah. I think Mariah is doing a phenomenal job with her daughter. I like how open she is. And the reason why I like it is because I envy it. You know, to this day at 35 years old, there are still issues present in my life, in my relationship with my parents, that resulted from my inability to talk to them about things, and for them to just assume that certain shit we just automatically fucking knew, or things that were uncomfortable for them to talk about, they didn't talk about with us, or because they mama and daddy did it to them one way, they carry that on even though it fucked them up. And then I just look at people and I'm like, okay, if you know your mama and daddy did some shit that fucked you up mentally, why would you pass that shit on to your kids? You know what I'm saying? Even if it's uncomfortable for you, your priority should be your kids. You need to push through your discomfort. Nevertheless, I like that conversation that they had at the steakhouse. Now, granted, it's TV and they're not going to get all into the nitty gritty, but that conversation was a little, you know, elementary. I really wanted them to dive in a little more with, like, you know, you're going to have boys push up on you. You're going to start feeling sexual urges. And when you do, please come talk to us. Because here's the thing, as I was looking through that, I got a cousin. My auntie was real strict on her. Nobody want their kids out there fucking. Nobody want their kids dating before time. But the reality of the situation is you can't control what no 16-year-old do. All of y'all, think back to your very first time. Think back to when you were 15, 16, 17 years old. Anything you wanted to do, you could. Whether it was get your hands on some alcohol, get your hands on some sex, get your hands on some drugs. With that being said, parents, listen to me carefully. No matter how strict you are, no matter how many safeguards you try to put in place, if they want to fuck, they gonna fuck. And that's just true tea. My auntie was so strict on my cousin, couldn't no boys call the house, couldn't no boys be in front of the yard, wasn't no going to no dance with no boy. And guess what? My cousin popped up and said, Auntie, I gotta go to night school for driver's ed. And bitch, night school is where it happened. You know what I'm saying? Think back to high school. People was fucking in the hallways, fucking in the bathroom, skipping school. So no matter what you tell your kids, they grown. At that point, I'm sorry. At 16, that raising is just about done. At 15, 16, they got 2 more years in your house than they going to college. So if they mind ain't right by 16, if you ain't laid that foundation right by 16, this sis, you might as well push out another baby and start over again because they're going to do what they want to do. And that's the true medicine that I'm married to. Moving right along. All right, so Heavenly and them go back to that house. Now, this is where it gets very special for me, y'all. Heavenly and I grew up same exact neighborhood. It said Miami Gardens at the bottom of the screen. It was Carroll City back in that day. She went to New Orleans, I went to Carroll City, neighboring high school. Depending on where you live, you either got shipped to my school or her school. My neighborhood that I grew up in looked exactly like Heavenly's neighborhood. The house I grew up in looked very similar to Heavenly's. The architecture, the inside of the house, the way the grass look in Carroll City, the way the gates look, you can tell a Carroll City neighborhood. And I found it odd though, and it says a lot about Heavenly, the fact that she walked to the end of the block but didn't know anything about it. The fact that her mom kept her so sheltered. The fact that she had a room with no windows. Like, that is scary. Especially considering the fact that that house was a very nice size. And she says it was her mom, and her sister. Now, unless she had some other family members living there. Or, you know, her mama was running a brothel from 2 of them other bedrooms. I'm not understanding why that lady didn't have no room without no windows. Nevertheless, it was very telling. My situation is, and this is why I connect with Heavenly so much. My situation is the very same thing, and y'all heard me talk about it. I'm from that neighborhood. I was the skinny kid. My mama kept me. My mama and them had this thing, despite the fact that they were from Overtown, Liberty City. Once they kind of got up on their feet, they made it a point to try to keep me away from little progetic children. Okay? So that meant that I had to stay in the house a lot. I couldn't like go in other people's yard. I could only go to my cousins' them house. And as I got older, I was allowed to come outside. But like how other kids could go around the block and all that, I had to kind of stay right in the front yard where somebody could watch me. Nevertheless, I wasn't as rough and tough as the rest of the kids that grew up fighting at the tree, fighting at the park. So when I got like 5th and 6th grade and the kids would tease me and stuff, I didn't know how to fight. I know they used to bully me, they used to hit me, they used to push me, and I used to be scared. And then after a while, you know what I'm saying, I learned how to use my mouth to back a motherfucker up off of me. And much like Heavenly, I was always the smartest person in the room. Being smart was my motherfucking claim to fame, and it still is. My whole identity is wrapped into being smart. It's who I am. If I'm not smart, I feel like nothing. And that's the truth. Everything I am rests in me being the smart kid. That has been my identity since birth. Okay? And so Whereas the other kids had brothers and sisters that would come to the school and beat your ass, and they had a slew of cousins or a slew of neighborhood kids that would help them fight. I didn't have all that. So I learned to hold my mouth. I would embarrass the dog shit out of a motherfucker, and it became my protective mechanism. So much so, even when I came into new friendship circles, I would lead with my damn mouth just to let a motherfucker know this ain't where you want to come with it. And it's still like that to a degree today. Now, I ain't as bad as Heavenly. I know when I'm being a jerk and when I'm not, and I know how to speak to people properly and how not to, and Heavenly ass do too. Okay, she just do the shit because she get a fucking kick out of it. I don't give a damn. You can't tell me no 50-year-old damn woman don't know how to control her goddamn mouth. And the litmus test is, if your ass was standing in front of a motherfucking judge, you wouldn't be so flippant at the mouth. It wouldn't be so, rah, this, that, and the third. Your mama, this, that, and the third. So don't give me that old, conditional, I can control my mouth on a conditional basis. It's some bullshit. You know right from wrong. You do. But I identify with Heavenly because Miami will make you that way. Carol City, inner city neighborhoods in Miami is rough. Inner city neighborhoods, I'm sure anywhere is rough, but Miami got a particular stank on it. It's something that Heavenly said that I really identified with. She said, I left home at 17 years old and never came back. Same here. I went to college. I graduated June 14th. June 16th. I was up the turnpike headed to Florida State University. Went to school that summer, never came back. Never came home for summers. Rarely came home for holidays. And I stayed gone until adulthood. I get it. And then there was nothing for me to come back to but stress, drama, and all the things that reminded me of what I didn't want to be. When I go back to my childhood neighborhood, yes, I think about, the little insecure kid I was at that time, being teased, being picked on. And you don't want to relive that stuff. So you go away to school and you recreate your life in your image. A life that you can have control over. And that's what so many people do when they go away from college. Now, the difference between Heavenly and I is that, I don't know if Heavenly has a big family or not. Obviously, I still have family members that live in Carroll City. So I will come home from time to time. Even now, I go to my auntie. I hear me talking about I go to my auntie house. My auntie still live over there in the neighborhood, so on and so forth. But now that I'm back residing in Miami, bitch, I don't go over there. I ain't got no reason to be over there in Miami Gardens, Carroll City. And much like Heavenly said, she went to Little Havana. I'm 35 years old, and I am now seeing parts of Miami that I never knew existed. And Heavenly said something. Heavenly was like, had I seen this part of Miami, maybe I would have been back sooner, or maybe I would have never left. And it is the same here. Moral of that story is, y'all, you got to go more than within a 10-mile radius of your house. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am having the time of my life in Miami right now because I'm just like, I'm so embarrassed and ashamed of everything that there's here to do in this city. And all I know is Carroll City, Miami Gardens. I ain't never been out the goddamn city limits. You know what I'm saying? You do everything right there in that small little area. So that being said, I'm having the time of my life down here in Miami. Nevertheless, why I threw my phone like I was finished with my notes? Because I guess I was going to go in on that part. Nevertheless, I totally get Heavenly. When she went and visited that house and that air got thick, yeah, that was a panic attack that she was having. It was a storm of emotions that you had buried that were resurging. I would like to see Heavenly and her sister have a sit-down talk. Now, I don't know if we're going to get it on this season. And I don't know if Heavenly's mom is still alive. But from the little piece of Iyanla Vanzant training that I do got, everything that we take issue with Heavenly is wrapped in that mama and that sister. And I can imagine that sister needs some healing too. Because I would imagine on the flip side of things, that sister's argument may be, mama didn't love me, she loved you the best. And I was always competing for her attention. Yeah, I had the boys, but you had mama. I can assure you, I don't even know that lady. I don't even know what Heavenly's sister looked like. I can assure you that's how that lady feel. And that's why part of the reason why they go so bump. Heavenly was looking at her for being the pretty one and the outgoing one, the one with all the friends, the one that was allowed to do stuff and run the streets. And the sister's probably envious of Heavenly because Heavenly got all the mama attention. Rather it was, locking her up in the attic like Anne Frank. At least mama cared enough about you to lock you in the closet like Anne Frank. I'm telling y'all, they need to go and fix my life. They needed to swap out Cynthia and Mallory, no problem having asses, and put Heavenly and Denise on there. Contessa drops the kids off and heads to the hospital. Her dad calls. You know, I'm assuming that the dad was unable to be there because he didn't have enough notice, and he did give Contessa his word, but he did the best he could. He called, and I commend him for that. You can tell she was slightly disappointed, but she's learned to just take what it is she can get. Last but not least, the episode closes out with Heavenly's friends showing up at the dinner. Number one, I want to say hats off to those three ladies, because they look really sophisticated, like they live good lives or whatever. And to be honest with you, you really don't see a lot of that coming out of Miami, Florida, especially coming out of that neighborhood. You don't. Like, people don't go on to become professionals. I was telling my daddy this the other day, and I am ashamed to say this, but growing up in that neighborhood, do y'all know I had 0 examples of anybody who did a job, a professional job that required any kind of higher education. Growing up, I've never had any exposure to a black accountant, doctor, lawyer, advertising professional, marketing manager, director of health. I never. The only examples coming out of that neighborhood of any type of college educated person I have ever seen is a school teacher. It's a damn shame. I don't have any friends that I could be like, oh yeah, remember Jenny, her dad was an accountant. Like, everybody in Miami, for the county is the largest employer, and it's not the shit on the county, but everybody in Miami work for the post office. They drive buses, they correctional officers, firefighter, police, dispatch, things of that nature. So those were the only things that I saw growing up as a kid. Those in my mind were my only career options, because that's all I ever saw. Even to this day, I'm 35 years old now, and I still cannot go back to that neighborhood and be like, that's Miss Jones, she used to be an accountant. I have no examples. All the professionals that I know now that are highly educated or degreed individuals are people that I met damn near at 30 years of age, and I'm 35. So nevertheless, those women look like they've got something going on in life greater than, and this is no shade, but greater than delivering mail. You know what I'm saying? Their subjects and verbs agreed. They had a level of class and sophistication about them that suggests that they work in some sort of professional arena, and that was good to know. You know, it was good to just see Heavenly connect with friends from her childhood, and that they were able to really speak on how close that they used to be. And I hope that those ladies can all stay in contact and they have a good time. Y'all, Married to Medicine, you know, it was a little flat. You know, I was able to pull more out of it than I ordinarily would have, because I was able to relate to the Heavenly thing, and this came more about my experience in Miami and less about the show. But hell, y'all hoes better take it where the fuck y'all could get it. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let me get in here and watch this Love and Hip Hop and find out why K Michelle just got blessed with all that alcohol in her face. And I'll call you back, girl. Bye.